In the heart of the bustling metropolis of New York City, amidst the towering skyscrapers and the ceaseless hum of urban life, there existed a hidden world of darkness and depravity. Beneath the veneer of normalcy, a sinister figure lurked, preying on the unsuspecting and leaving a trail of terror in his wake. This was Dr. Henry Carter, a man of science and medicine, twisted into a monster by his own twisted desires. Dr. Carter was a renowned surgeon, celebrated for his skill and precision. His hands, once instruments of healing, had become tools of destruction. He reveled in the power he held over his patients, their lives hanging in the balance by his every decision. But beneath his facade of professionalism lurked a dark secret, a fascination with death that gnawed at his soul. As the years passed, Dr. Carter's fascination morphed into a morbid obsession. He began to experiment on his patients, manipulating their bodies and minds, pushing the boundaries of medical ethics. His experiments were not driven by a desire to cure or alleviate suffering. Instead, they were fueled by a twisted curiosity, a hunger to understand the delicate balance between life and death. Dr. Carter's patients became his unwilling subjects, their trust in him cruelly betrayed. He would administer experimental drugs, perform unauthorized procedures, and even orchestrate fatal accidents, all in the name of his macabre research. The hospital staff grew suspicious, their whispers following Dr. Carter like a shadow. But he was a master manipulator, always able to deflect their concerns, his reputation as a brilliant surgeon shielding him from scrutiny. One night, a new patient arrived at the hospital, a young woman named Emily Peterson. Emily was a vibrant soul, full of life and laughter, unaware of the darkness that awaited her. Dr. Carter saw her as an opportunity, a fresh canvas upon which he could paint his twisted masterpiece. He took a special interest in Emily's case, showering her with attention and promising a cure for her ailment. Emily, blinded by her trust in Dr. Carter, willingly submitted to his treatments. But as the days turned into weeks, she began to notice a change in her beloved doctor. His eyes, once filled with warmth, now held a chilling emptiness. His touch, once gentle, now sent shivers down her spine. Emily's fear grew with each passing day, but she was trapped, bound by her illness and the doctor's control over her treatment. One fateful night, Dr. Carter made his move. Emily awoke to find herself alone in her room, a strange concoction dripping into her IV. Her body felt heavy, her mind clouded. As she drifted into unconsciousness, she heard Dr. Carter's voice, a chilling whisper in her ear, promising her a new life, a life beyond pain and suffering. When Emily awoke, she found herself in a cold, sterile room, her body ravaged by Dr. Carter's experiments. She was no longer the vibrant young woman she once was, but a shell of her former self, her spirit broken, her body a grotesque testament to Dr. Carter's depravity. Emily's story is just one of many, a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk in the hearts of even the most trusted individuals. Dr. Carter, the angel of death, continued his reign of terror, his victims growing in number, their identities lost to the shadows. The city remained oblivious, its citizens unaware of the monster lurking in their midst, waiting for his next opportunity to strike. As Emily lay in her hospital bed, her body a grotesque testament to Dr. Carter's depravity, she grappled with the horrific reality of her situation. Once a vibrant and full of life young woman, she was now a mere shadow of her former self, her spirit broken, her body ravaged by the doctor's twisted experiments. Fear gnawed at her, a relentless companion in her waking hours and a haunting presence in her dreams. She longed for escape, for a way to break free from Dr. Carter's clutches and reclaim her life. But she was trapped, confined to the sterile walls of the hospital, her weakened body unable to resist the doctor's control. Despite her despair, a flicker of hope remained within Emily's heart. She refused to succumb to the darkness that threatened to consume her. She would find a way to expose Dr. Carter's crimes, to bring his reign of terror to an end. But how could she do it? A mere shadow of her former self, surrounded by people who either feared or admired the doctor? One day, an opportunity presented itself. A new nurse, Sarah, joined the hospital staff. Her bright eyes and compassionate demeanor, a stark contrast to the cold indifference that pervaded the rest of the ward. Emily saw in Sarah a kindred spirit, someone who might be willing to listen to her story, to believe the truth about Dr. Carter. Gathering her courage, Emily approached Sarah, her voice trembling as she recounted the horrors she had endured. Sarah listened intently, her face etched with concern and disbelief. She had always admired Dr. Carter, seeing him as a brilliant and dedicated surgeon. But Emily's story shattered the illusion, revealing a monster lurking beneath the facade of a respected physician. Sarah knew she had to do something. She couldn't ignore Emily's pleas for help, couldn't turn a blind eye to the possibility of such a grave injustice. But she also knew that confronting Dr. Carter directly would be dangerous. He was a powerful figure, well respected, and feared within the hospital. Any accusation against him would likely be met with disbelief and dismissal. Sarah decided to gather evidence to document Emily's claims and build a case against Dr. Carter. She began to discreetly observe the doctor, noting his interactions with his patients, searching for any signs of wrongdoing. She also started to collect medical records, looking for inconsistencies or anomalies that might support Emily's story. As Sarah delved deeper into her investigation, she uncovered a trail of disturbing evidence. She found records of patients who had died under suspicious circumstances, their deaths attributed to natural causes, but raising troubling questions. She also witnessed Dr. Carter administering unauthorized medications to his patients, his actions shrouded in secrecy and devoid of any ethical considerations. The more Sarah learned, the more horrified she became. Dr. Carter wasn't just a negligent doctor, he was a monster, a predator preying on the vulnerable. She knew she had to act quickly before Dr. Carter could claim another victim. But how could she expose him? She was just a nurse, with no power or authority to challenge a respected surgeon. She needed help, someone who could wield the influence and credibility she lacked. Sarah's thoughts turned to Dr. Harris, the hospital's chief of staff. He was a man of integrity and a respected figure in the medical community. If she could convince him of Dr. Carter's crimes, he might be able to bring the doctor to justice. With a mix of determination and trepidation, Sarah approached Dr. Harris, laying out the evidence she had gathered and recounting Emily's harrowing story. Dr. Harris was initially skeptical, his mind struggling to reconcile the image of the brilliant surgeon he knew with the monster Sarah described. But the weight of the evidence and the sincerity of Sarah's conviction eventually swayed him. Together, Sarah and Dr. Harris began to build a case against Dr. Carter, meticulously piecing together the evidence and preparing for the inevitable confrontation. They knew it would be a difficult battle, but they were determined to bring the angel of death to justice. Dr. Carter, oblivious to the storm brewing around him, continued his macabre experiments, his thirst for knowledge and power insatiable. He reveled in the control he held over his patients, their lives hanging in the balance by his every decision. But his reign of terror was nearing its end, as the net of justice tightened around him. Sarah and Dr. Harris, armed with their evidence and unwavering determination, confronted Dr. Carter, presenting him with the irrefutable proof of his crimes. Dr. Carter, initially stunned into silence, quickly regained his composure, his face contorting into a mask of rage and disbelief. He denied all accusations, his voice laced with venom, painting Sarah as a delusional liar and Dr. Harris as a power-hungry opportunist. The confrontation was tense, the air thick with anticipation. Dr. Carter's charisma and reputation were formidable weapons, and Sarah and Dr. Harris knew that they had to tread carefully. They presented their evidence piece by piece, dismantling Dr. Carter's carefully constructed facade, revealing the monster beneath. The hospital staff, who had long harbored suspicions about Dr. Carter, watched in stunned silence as the truth unfolded before them. The image of the brilliant and compassionate surgeon they once admired crumbled, replaced by the chilling reality of a cold-blooded killer. Dr. Carter, cornered and desperate, made a final, desperate attempt to escape. He lunged at Sarah, his eyes filled with murderous intent. But Dr. Harris, anticipating his move, intervened, grabbing Dr. Carter and restraining him. The struggle was brief but intense, the tension in the room palpable. With Dr. Carter subdued, the authorities were called in. He was arrested, his reign of terror finally brought to an end. The hospital staff breathed a collective sigh of relief, the oppressive atmosphere that had hung over them for so long lifting. Emily, who had been watching the events unfold from her hospital bed, felt a surge of relief and gratitude. She had been through hell, but she had survived, and her story had finally been heard. She knew that the road to recovery would be long and arduous, but she was determined to reclaim her life, to heal both physically and emotionally. In the aftermath of Dr. Carter's arrest, the hospital underwent a thorough investigation, exposing the systemic flaws that had allowed his crimes to go undetected for so long. New protocols were implemented, ensuring that patients were protected from harm and that doctors were held accountable for their actions. The story of Dr. Henry Carter, the Angel of Death, served as a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk in the hearts of even the most respected individuals. It was a cautionary tale, a testament to the importance of vigilance and the power of speaking up against injustice. As for Emily, she emerged from her ordeal a changed woman, her spirit tempered but not broken. She became an advocate for patient safety, using her voice to raise awareness and prevent others from suffering the same fate as she had. Her story was a beacon of hope, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the unwavering pursuit of justice.